Between sleep and the long plain of the underworld, there is a narrow country, like a ribbon of dusk. It is neither bright nor dark, a stratum of pearly twilight that never quite becomes night. Here, fog drifts like breath on glass. Here, the wind carries the soft weight of sighs. Here, Eurydice tends a garden. She grows dreams. They take to the soil like any living thing, with the underside of her fingernails always stained a faint blue from seeds that look like bits of sky. She lifts furrows of loam that smell faintly of rain on ash. There are beds of feather-like grasses that whisper languages unlearned and then suddenly remembered. There are trellises of vine that bear fruit shaped like closed eyes. There are patient trees that pick up the stories people drop on their way to sleep and keep them in their rings. Some dreams are shrubs that need pruning. Left unattended, a memory runs wild and turns the sleeper restless. Some are low, creeping ground covers of laughter. Others, tall and lean, are nightmares that must be staked and trained so they bend toward mercy. Eurydice knows them all. She moves with that careful grace of the practiced tender, a woman reading the plants the way a musician reads notes. The moths follow her, opalescent and soft, their wings dusted with the pollen fine as rumor. The moths will carry the night's harvest up to the living like letters, the way they always have. Beneath the garden, a river runs, the one that remembers and the one that forgets, side by side, braided like a double helix. Mnemosyne with her clarity, Lethe with her oblivion. Their mists creep up through the roots, and the roots drink. When Eurydice hums, the garden pays attention. It isn't the song that made the world hold its breath once, long ago. She doesn't sing that song anymore. This is a work tune, pitched to the rhythm of moving soil and tying twine. She hums and thins a row of tender sprouts that will ripen into the sort of dreams where you find your childhood home exactly as it was, and yet your hands are the hands you have now. She hums and grafts a shoot of courage onto a stalk of fear, so the nightmare will turn toward a chase that ends with a hidden door and a key the dreamer already carries. When morning approaches in the woven world above, the moths lift with their bundles, and the crickets count them off in clicks. Only then does Eurydice sleep. Sleep, for her, is a pool you step into and come out clean. She does not dream in it. The garden dreams for her. On the day the trouble begins, she is sowing whisper seeds in a patch that needs quick growth. Children in a fever will often reach this border, and she likes to line the path with soft murmurs that coax them gently back toward their pillows. Her hands lift and fall. She thinks of nothing. That is her favorite way to think. Then, it creeps over the beds like a fog that got lost. Thin, cold, gray. The moths drop as if someone has pinched the clamps of their wings. The whisper seedlings shiver and turn colorless. It is a Lethe wind, arriving out of season. The river of forgetting should keep to its channel, but sometimes it breathes too heavily, and the dew that condenses from it strips the color from dreams, leaving them pale and without pulse. A blight called the Unmooring. The garden's heart trembles. Eurydice gets to her feet so quickly, the basket of seeds spills. "Not today," she says, not to the wind, but to the work in front of her. She has learned not to scold forces that do not understand the names people give them. She lifts a root-bound worry from the bed and shakes the soil from it, a tangle that belongs to a woman whose father's voice is slipping from her mind. The unmooring has kissed the sprig bare. As she looks, the sprig loses the little weight it had and drifts upward, a thread cut loose. That is how dreams die in her garden. They try to climb out of gravity and never quite stop. She cups the empty air and almost catches it, but it has already become vapor and has already forgotten itself. The moths on the path shiver, waking disoriented, and fly in wrong directions. Morpheus arrives before she can decide a plan. He is one of the 3 brothers who serve the realm of sleep, and of them he is the one who likes the smell of soil. In the garden, he appears as a tall man wearing a cloak the exact color of little boy shadows on a summer sidewalk. "Do you feel that?" he asks. "I feel it. It feels like losing the end of a thought when someone calls your name." Morpheus kneels beside her, palm on the ground. It's stronger along the path of return. "The sleepers," she says. "They won't bring anything back across the night." "They will sleep and wake emptied," he answers. He never sounds angry, only tired in a gentle way, as if even weariness wants to rest. The gardens of other keepers are sheltered. It touches you because you are closest to the border, because you planted yourself here. Eurydice dusts her hands off her skirt. The skirt's fabric is woven of noises she has collected. The gasp someone makes when they remember the name of the bird they loved as a child. The signature scratch of a mother's knitting needles. The cloth holds fast. What does the unmooring want? "It does no one," Morpheus says simply. "It only happens. Take care." He stands and pulls from his sleeve a little horn. "I will send what I can spare. But this is old work. The border has been thinning. The living leave their lights on all night. They do not let the dark mend them." "You speak as if the living are a single person," Eurydice says. "They are millions of persons, each of them alone. The border is always thinnest around loneliness." Morpheus smiles at her with the first line of a grin, then is gone. He always leaves like a page being turned. Eurydice moves. She unrolls the nets she uses on the nights when nightmares go feral. Their knots are worry and their ropes are patience. She sets pans beneath certain blossoms to catch the dew that forms. Thimble-sized cups made of a blue metal that remembers whatever rests in it too long. She lays out work for the moths, little loops of thread for them to carry in their feet to bind the weak stems. Still, the unmooring breathes. The path between sleep and waking goes thin and slick as wet glass. She watches a daydream that she had been training, an old man's rehearsal for forgiving himself, lose purchase. It floats above the trellis, transparent as onion skin, then dissolves altogether. That is when the boy wanders in. He is maybe 8, but in the world above, that means anything between 5 and 10. Fever frets his hair into loops. He walks with his hands slightly in front of him, a swimmer's posture. His mouth is moving, but he is not speaking in a language that carries here. He speaks to his body above, which is busy warming stones with sweat. Children sometimes stumble across the garden when fevers pull them toward deep places, and Eurydice always helps them back toward their beds. She kneels to be less of a mountain to him. "Hey," she says, a word that means attention more than it means greeting. "You're quite high up. The air is thin here." The boy blinks. His eyes are startlingly clear, abrupt as sunlight through leaves. "Where is this?" "A waiting place," she answers. "The garden of what you might dream, unless you and I decide otherwise." "I can't find my mother," the boy says. His hand lifts as if the word mother itself were heavier than the rest. "I was with her. I was in the kitchen and I was very tired and she said my name, and then I was here." "You are still with her," Eurydice says. "You will return. Do you know your name?" He thinks for longer than she likes. "Milo," he says finally, sounding a little surprised to hear it. "Good," Eurydice says, "and the good is for both of them. Milo, this is my garden. Don't step off the path, please. There are leaks in the ground today that would let you slide someplace farther than your mother would choose." He nods solemnly, as if he has been trusted with a secret. He looks at the moths. "Are those birds?" "They are the gentle male," she says. "They carry the garden upward." "Do they know my house?" Milo asks. "Yes," she says, "because the moths know everyone's house, even the house someone will one day have but does not yet." "Do they visit me?" "They will visit you when you sleep properly." "Am I sleeping incorrectly?" he asks, frowning. "Only unexpectedly," Eurydice says. "Hold my hand while we walk, if you like." He takes her fingers with the single-minded grip of an unembarrassed child. That contact steadies her more than she expects. She leads him along the path that winds between beds of unfinished stories and away from the thinnest places. The unmooring drafts at their ankles. "Why is the air sad?" Milo asks. "It is forgetting," Eurydice says. "Sometimes forgetting is mercy. Sometimes it is tragedy. Today it is careless." He considers that, and then points at a small tree whose leaves are like tiny mirrors. "What is that one?" "A dream for remembering the face of someone you love, even after the face becomes a field of snow." "Do you have one? Someone like that?" Eurydice doesn't stop walking, but something inside her pauses. "I did," she says. The path turns, and the tree slips behind a veil of fog. "A long time ago, and a little while ago, and also today." "That is 3, Milo says. She smiles without teeth. "You will find that time behaves generously here. It gives and gives until you are full and still need." They reach the way she uses to return a child to bed. A little gate made of 2 kinds of horn. One shines clear and honest, while the other gleams like ivory carved and oiled. "This one," she says, touching the clear horn. "Go home by truth." Milo's hand holds. "Will you come with me?" "I will follow," she says. "I cannot cross with you. My place is here." She kneels again. "Listen to me. You're on the slope between waking and the underworld. If your feet go wrong on that slope, you will slide very far. Stay in your bed. Let your mother's voice be the rope. Don't answer anyone else calling you for now. Not even yourself if you sound strange." He nods again, the hero of a task he hopes is small. He looks at her mouth, memorizing the shape of the sentence that matters. "Let my mother's voice be the rope." "That's right," she says. and puts her palm against his forehead. It is hot as a brand. Go. He goes. He steps through the clear horn, and then Eurydice stands alone with the ivory gate catching the light and the unmooring wind turning the beds pale. She gets back to work. That night, the moths carry up as much as they can, and later, Morpheus's brothers arrive. Phantassos plants his elbows on the top rail of the fence around the pumpkin patch of extravagant illusions, the ones that grow into dreams where you are a queen and everyone knows all your lines. Too much forgetting, he says, making a face. He looks like the handsomest boy in school, if the handsomest boy in school also found you ridiculous. Phobetor has already found the nightmares and crouches with them as if he were their older brother whose knuckles have always been skinned. He talks to them in their own language, sudden stop, loud drop, the movement of the floor under your feet until they settle. Someone is pulling, he remarks without looking over, and he knows he means not a person, but a force. It is not just wind. I felt that too, like a tide, but with no moon. Phobetor snorts softly. Everything has a moon. The question is whether you can see it. He does not offer help. Nightmares are mercy too, and he is loath to blunt them without cause. Phantassos blows a kiss at a flower that decides on the strength of that attention to grow into a dream where you meet a friend from childhood on a train and find you both remember the same song. If you want spectacle, he offers, I have some good marbles to throw, meaning he can make distractions that might draw the unmooring off for a while. Eurydice shakes her head. It will come back. I need a fix, not a flourish. She ties a strip of cloth, a shred cut from the dress she wore the day she walked upward behind music, around the broken spine of a little dream, and breathes on it until it warms. I need Memnosi, the water that remembers. Lethe is flooding the roots. Phantassos grimaces. Manageable, he says, though he clearly means unpleasant. But that means the crossings. You have to ask. I know, Eurydice says. She looks toward the end of the garden where the land slopes down into scrim and the old gate stands. 3 posts, 3 paths, all of them true, none of them kind. I will bring what I can carry. They watch her not with pity. They are gods after all, and pity has never been one of their tools, but with a sort of professional regard. If you go, Phobetor says, something may call you. It is loud, louder than my brothers and I together. Eurydice touches the strip of dress again. I know what calls. What is its name? Phantassos asks, curious for once. She looks up. The twilight into which twilight fades is very wide. It used to be Orpheus, she answers quietly. Now it is only the sound I still hear when I stand too close to silence. They let her go. At the old gate, the choices wait like held out a deck of cards. The path to the left belongs to Lethe. You can feel how smooth it is, simply by looking at it, the relief it offers, the way it promises that you can go blind in a way that feels like rest. The path to the right belongs to Memnosi. You can feel the grit there too, the weight of the names you will have to carry back, each of them wanting attention. The center path is neither. It goes to the versions of yourself you could have been. And she has walked enough of that one to know
It is a dangerous pastime.
Eurydice takes the right-hand path. It is not heroic, not even very dramatic. It is a long walk over a ground that sometimes shifts underfoot because you were crossing other people's lives. The wind lifts bits of story and tries them on you the way a friend hands you a coat you did not know might suit you, a cheat code for a childhood video game, a grandmother's kitchen window, the smell of early rain in a city you have never visited. Eurydice puts her head down beneath the barrage of almost and keeps walking. Flowers of the Gate of Horns sprout where she steps. Those are true dreams, the clear stream of what is given. Flowers of the Gate of Ivory sprout too, pale and lovely and not exactly lies, only what we tell ourselves when we need a different shape to wear. Hecate meets her where the path narrows and 3 shadows cross like braids. The goddess's torches smoke with the smell of roads left untaken. Her dogs neither snarl nor wag. Hecate has always been kind to the lost and the deciding. She looks at Eurydice with that precise sympathy that does not lower its head. "Do you still want?" she asks. Eurydice answers honestly, because lies turn brittle here. "Yes," she says, "but not the same thing. I want the garden to live. I want the sleepers to wake up holding something gentle with teeth in it. I want..." She pauses. "I want to stop counting the times I almost came back." The counting stops when you forgive yourself, Hecate says, a sentence that would make her rich if anyone ever paid for guidance. She lifts one torch. "I can lay a hedge over the border for a while. It will look like fog. That will buy you one night. After that, you will need a well." "I'm going to Mnemosyne," Eurydice says. "I need something that keeps remembering even when no one asks it to." Hecate nods. "You are a well," she says pleasantly, and Eurydice knows it is both compliment and a warning. Do not forget that the bucket wears out before the water does. "Do you have a bucket?" Eurydice asks, feeling foolish and practical at once. Hecate smiles, the sharp crescent of a new moon. She says, "I have a cup," and puts in Eurydice's hand a small vessel made from the shell of a creature that only lives where 2 dreams meet and eat each other gently. Fill it once, that is all. More would only flood you. Eurydice nods, thanks the goddess, and walks on. Mnemosyne is not a woman. She is a river. She is also a woman if you need her to be. Today, because Eurydice needs a conversation, she is a woman whose hair is a current that goes all one way. Her voice sounds like the first time you remembered you were supposed to be somewhere else and started running. "I've come to ask a favor," Eurydice says, holding the cup with both hands as if it were a sleeping bird. "You've come to survive your own tenderness," Mnemosyne replies. "I know." She bends and lifts water in both hands and pours it not into the cup yet, but onto Eurydice's bare feet. It is cold enough to hurt and clean enough to make the hurt feel good. "What will you pay?" "Something I can afford," Eurydice says, because she has learned. "Something I will miss, but not be ruined by." Mnemosyne's smile is brief and unpitying. You always hope bargains come like that. Most do not. She touches Eurydice's hair, which has always been the sort of soft that refuses to hold pins. "You can't carry my water for free, little root. Choose." Eurydice looks into the river, words sluice past, shucked names, shed adjectives, the taste of the first apple, the second day of school, the exact color of a coat on a winter morning outside a hospital. She lifts the cup and knows,
as if she has been told that it must be paid for either with the forgetting of her own or with the sound she has been keeping. The sound. She could pay with the memory, the taste of pomegranate the day the underworld's queen shared her fruit with the bride too quickly emptied, or the way Orpheus's hand felt the first time he pulled her into a dance on a rude threshing floor, or the particular pattern of cracks in the plaster above a rented bed. Or she could pay with the last trace of the song that rises when the world feels too quiet and no one knows what to do, and then someone remembers the pattern of a man turning grief into direction. She has been stingy with that last. It is all she kept of him. Not the face. Faces fade. Not the exact voice. Voices migrate into other throats over years until you do not know which is which. Can I, Eurydice asks, pay in inches? Mnemosyne is not unkind exactly, but she does not pretend things are adjustable that are not. All at once. The cup in Eurydice's hands is cool and light and absolute. Take the song, she says, and feels the air around her settle, as if a door in a house has quietly closed. Take it all. Mnemosyne dips the cup into herself and fills it to the lip. You are paying an edge, she remarks. Songs hold cliffs. The lack of this one will smooth some ground. There is danger in that too. I know, Eurydice says, and when she says it, she knows something else too. She will replace the song with work. She will make a rhythm that is less beautiful but more sustaining. She will put her hands in the dirt and keep them there until they make music of their own. She carries the cup back without spilling. Hecate's fog kisses her shoulders and curls around the hedges of the garden like a guardian cat that won't say why it's there. Eurydice pours the water on the roots of the most endangered dreams and then on the roots of everything. It soaks in as if the soil recognizes a long-missed friend. The Unmooring closes its empty mouth. Still, Phobator was right. As the garden stiffens its spine against forgetting, something calls. It calls like a festival 2 streets over. It calls like supper from the window downstairs when you were studying and didn't realize it was late. It calls like the mantle of the old world's lyre being lifted in the dark and the strings plucked once, twice, and then not plucked a third time because the player set the instrument down and went to answer the door. Eurydice's knees go weak. She sits in the path and rests her hands palm down on the dust. Her hands are her anchors. They always have been. The calling does not stop. It is not the old song. It is not even Orpheus. It is the living. A boy and then a chorus of other boys and girls, lights on, bodies warm, mouths open because someone has taught them a tune and told them not to be delicate with it. It is the sound of a dozen classrooms remembering strange old music and making it their own without asking anyone's permission.
Milo is in it. She can hear him. A thread of bright that rises for a moment above the others because he is not self-conscious yet. He does not know that he will be embarrassed by his own voice one day. He only knows it feels like climbing when everyone sings. Eurydice gets to her feet. All right, she says aloud to the part of herself that wants to walk into the sound and keep walking into it until she is a noise the living make when they forget themselves a little. We are not doing this again. She goes to the beds in the back where she keeps the stubborn dreams. She builds little fences around them against the wind. She ties up the nightmares so that when they bend, they bow.
She kneels and puts her ear to the soil and listens for the way the roots talk to each other without needing a mouth. The hum aunts. The hum answers the call in a lower key. The moths, revived, return to their loops. They lift the little bundles of dreams in their feet and scatter the nights with deliveries. The one with the torn wing that she named Plectrum nudges against her thumb and then keeps going. The dew forms, not as white forgetfulness, but as clear memory. It beards the leaves, and when it drips sweetness. Eurydice bends, tastes it, and finds it sharp and clean with the names of people she will never meet. When morning comes, the garden is holding. The day after, Milo returns, but properly this time, asleep in his bed, the fever broken, the body tired enough to give in to repair. He steps between the horn gates with all the sureness of someone who knows where he is going, even if he has never been there. He spots Eurydice and runs, then slows at the last second, a child quickly remembering he promised to walk on a path. "I sang," he tells her, as if reporting the weather. "My music teacher said to sing even if I didn't want to, because my body would want to one day. She said it was like brushing my heart." Eurydice laughs, surprised by it. She has not laughed with both hands in years. "Did it work?" He says, "I liked it." He looks around. "Did you fix the sad wind?" "I gave the ground something to hold," she says. "Thank your music teacher for that too, if you want." He studies her face with that open sincerity children have when they are not trying to guess what you need from them. "I will. Will you ever come to our world?" Eurydice looks up again into the twilight sky and then into the mottled shadow shot through it. And for a long moment, the old habit rises. Say yes. Step into risk. Take the path you have already walked and see if the second time the ending is gentler. She feels for the sound she used to hold and does not find it. There is an emptiness there, but it is not terrifying. It is useful, like a space cleared on a shelf for the book you did not know you needed. "No," she says, "but you will bring me with you when you wake. That is how gardens travel." Milo nods, satisfied by the logic of that. He wanders the beds. He touches lightly the leaf of a dream where you apologize in a language that is not yours but is still understood. Then watches a row of nightmares tremble like horses whose riders have freed them. His eyes stop on the little tree with the mirror leaves. "Who do you remember from that one today?" he asks. Eurydice leans on her hoe and considers. The reflections in the leaves do not show faces. They show edges, the outline of a cheek where a hand once rested, the angle of a jaw when someone laughed. I think a woman in a long red scarf. She works in a library kept in an old train station. Today, she will find a book she forgot she needed. And tonight, she will dream of wearing it like a cloak. And in the morning, she will remember how to ask for help. If I keep this tree watered, she will keep remembering for a while. "That is very good," Milo says gravely. "I think so too." Eurydice raises the hoe. "Would you like to plant something before you go?" He straightens like a knight given a task. "Yes." She gives him a seed that looks to his eyes like a grain of salt. Plant it with a wish, she instructs, and watches how he digs a small hole and whispers to the soil and covers the seed and pats it gentle as petting a cat. He does not tell her the wish, and she does not ask. The wish will tell the seed what shape to take. He goes home by the clear gate. She watches him walk through and then watches the spot where he was until the air stops trembling. Then she turns back to the beds and sets the hoe into the ground again as if it were a metronome. The trouble is not over. The unmooring will return not as a single bad wind, but as a habit of the age. People will live under artificial suns and offer themselves little rest. The border will thin where loneliness pulls and where grief goes unspilled. Eurydice will have to keep going to Minosyne sometimes, though not often. Memory water is strong, and too much will drown the garden in its own reflection. She pays for those cups with other sounds. The snap of the first frost underfoot, the creak of the kitchen stool in the house of her girlhood, the hiss of the lamp in the rented room where she and the man she loved chose each other again for the 1,000th unremarkable time. She does not regret those prices. She fills the spaces they leave with the noises of now, moth wings, crickets counting, the sigh of the soil when it recognizes itself. The oniric keep visiting. Forgetfulness brings her a nightmare that has learned to bow on its own. He almost looks proud. Phantassos tries out fancier illusions and sometimes leaves them behind, where they go feral into art. Morpheus shows up with small fixes and large questions. They share news like weather reports. In one place, the children are dreaming about ladders. In another, the grandparents dream in colors that do not exist yet. In another, no one dreams for 3 nights, and then the 4th night brings a flood of quiet that makes the morning tender as new skin. And one evening, very far into the work and also very near, Orpheus comes up in conversation, the way a tree's roots sometimes come up in the path after rain. Morpheus is leaning with her against the fence. He says, without looking at her, "They sing him sometimes in the living world." I know. The answer sits lightly. I don't hear it like I used to. It is not less true for that, he offers. I didn't say it was less true. Eurydice puts her chin on her forearms and looks over the garden. I said, I don't hear it like I used to.
He glances sideways, filing that line in one of the many folders he keeps for human sentences that contain more physics than metaphor. Do you regret the price? No. She very nearly smiles. The song was always his. The garden is mine. They let that sit, companionable as warm stones at the edge of a lake. Later, when he goes and the moths lift, Eurydice walks among the beds and names things under her breath, because names stabilize. This one is for the boy who will become a doctor because he failed at something he thought mattered more, and then found this mattered most, she says, touching a budding branch that smells like rain on printed forms. This is for the old woman who will finally forgive herself for the night she closed the door too hard. This is for the nurse who will sleep in her shoes. This is for the bus driver who will wake with a design for a novel transit map and will draw it on a napkin before breakfast.
This is for the divorced man who will dream of the sea and understand that the sea is not a person, and that is part of its mercy. This is for the beekeeper who will stop cursing the bears and build a better fence. This is for the child who is afraid of the hole under the stairs and will dream of it filled with marbles that sing when you roll them. She waters them with Mnemosyne's diluted gift. She prunes back the dreams that would keep the dreamer trapped. She trains vines across trellises that lead inward rather than away. She tells the nightmares they can stay if they agree to behave as teachers and not tyrants. Some refuse and go into the wild, and the Oneroi will handle them there. Some agree and settle like wolves finally fed. On a night when the garden smells of cut green and quiet triumph, Milo returns again, taller by an inch of self-understanding you can only gain in the world above. He runs to her and then stops because he is learning that a person who is working is a small god and deserves to be approached well. He helps her carry twine. He asks about the seed he planted. It sprouted, Eurydice says, and shows him a small plant with leaves that are patient and sure. It is a wish that could be 1,000 things. Milo bends close. It looks like the letter M, he says. Maybe. Maybe it looks like a bridge. She glances at him without turning her head. Do you want to tell me your wish? He shakes his head with satisfaction. It is still ripening. Good, she says. Keep it where you can reach it. He looks at her a long time, with the unfashionable seriousness that adults are always trying to turn into a joke. You don't seem sad, he says finally. People told me you were very sad. I was a story for a while, Eurydice says. She sets her hands on her hips and wears the comfortable ache of labor. Stories have to give you an ending, or they feel like a lie. The garden doesn't care about endings. The garden is 1,000 middles. What is a middle? Milo asks. Where you get to work. The work makes it worth it. He nods as if he has not yet had a job, but hopes for one. A moth lands on his shoulder. Its feet are clever and kind. It turns like a badge until he has to go and then leaves him for a window. He goes. Others come. Eurydice holds the border with hedges and with naming. When the Unmooring breathes, she meets it not with anger, but with alternatives. Something better to do than drift. She pays Mnemosyne with the little sounds that make up a life, until the empty spaces ring with the noises of tending. She makes the garden a place where the living can practice waking up. When she is tired, she sits on the stump that is the old tree of her first resentment, the one she cut down herself when she realized it had been dropping bitterness into the soil. The stump is a good seat. From it, she can see most of the plots. Plectum comes to perch on her shoulder and chase dust motes with single-minded joy. She watches the moths rise like notes being written in a score only the sky can read. She hums the ugliest, most useful tune in the world, the one you can swing a hoe to. Somewhere above, people dream what she grew. They wake holding the soft teeth of it in their mouths. They tell their children the parts that can be turned into story, and they keep the rest in the pocket that warms near the heart. The border stays exactly where it is, unfixed and faithful. And the garden lives, which is to say it dies a little every day and makes that dying into something someone can carry. Late one dusk, when the twilight is at its loosest, she decides to plant a row of dreams she has not tried before. Dreams of courageous rest. They are subtle. They look like nothing at first, just a line of soil that has been smoothed with a palm. Only later, after tending, will they lift like a breath someone forgot they could take. She sows the seeds and murmurs to them, not a song but a simple sequence. Up, down, repeats. The pattern of breathing, the rhythm of loam accepting a new thing.
Hecate's fog curls along the fence. Eurydice nods to it. She nods to the paths. She nods to the rivers, both of them. And because she is generous, she nods toward Orpheus too. Not toward the song or the version of herself that needed it, but toward the man, the flawed human who loved her and lost her and tried anyway. He would not recognize the woman she has become. He might like her. He might be afraid of her. Neither matters now. Grow, she tells the new row, and the word is both blessing and instruction. Grow where you are planted, and if the wind leans you, lean and then learn to stand after. Grow into something that helps someone in the morning. Grow a little teeth if you have to, so you can hold on. Grow. The moths lift. The crickets count. Morpheus's horn, far away, puts one long note into the dusk that tells everything what time it is. It is the time between, the faithful hour. Eurydice washes her hands in a bowl that catches dew and forgives and remembers and forgives again. She dries them on her skirt, the cloth scratched soft with years of use. When sleep comes for her, she steps into it and out again, without dreaming. She does not need to. The garden has dreamed enough for her, and for a while for everyone else. In the morning that is not morning, she picks up the hoe and the twine and the cup with its hairline crack and walks the beds, checking for changes, making them when they do not arrive on their own. Eurydice's garden lives on the border between sleep and the underworld, and in it she grows dreams as if they were beans and sunflowers and the little unassuming herbs that make everything taste like itself. She will never make the world new again with a song. She will keep it tender with a spade. She will take the hours that go unloved, the blue, the gray, the slack, and she will fill them with work that is not glamorous enough to tell in bars or in ballads. Tying, thinning, watering, waiting, weeding, renaming. She will give the living back to themselves by the handful, by the cupful, by the moth-winged load. And when the unmooring comes like weather, she will hedge it with memory, not as a weapon, but as a trellis. Because that is what we climb when we cannot fly, something sturdy enough to lean on until morning.